Okay, so we're going to start our next unit, which is over associations and line of best fit. This video is going to go into associations. Okay, so first we need to know, what is an association? Well, an association occurs when two variables have a relationship with each other. So the way you can think of that is, as one variable changes, does it affect the other variable? Does it affect something else? Does it affect that part that's asking? Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at kind of today. And we're going to be describing associations later on in this video. So here's my first example here. A person's shoe size and their height. So let's figure out, is there an association between a person's shoe size and their height? Well, as a person's shoe size increases, what happens to their height? Well, the height generally gets bigger. It's increasing. So this one has an association. It affects each other. So what we would say in this case is, yes, there is an association. And how does it work? Well, as shoe size increases, as shoe size increases, I can't write fast enough, their height also increases. So I'm going to say their height increases. So they have a relationship. Okay, so those do affect each other. Now, we can also think of this as one is getting bigger, the other is getting bigger. You can think of it as positive as well. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to do a couple more of these like this. So next one here, I've got example number 2. Outdoor temperature and percent of people wearing long sleeves. Ask yourself, is there an association between these two? And if so, how would you describe it? All right, so this one does have an association, okay? And we would then say, as the temp increases, I'm going to abbreviate here, as temp increases, percent of long sleeves decreases, okay? You see less people wearing long sleeve shirts, right? You see less people wearing long sleeve shirts the warmer it gets out. So we will say percent of long sleeves decreases. So this one you can think of kind of has a negative idea. Kind of get the negative idea going here. All right, so let's take example number 3 here. How fast a dog can run and the length of the dog's fur. Ask yourself, is there an association between these two? If so, how would you describe it? If so, why not? Or if not, why? Well, for this one, how fast a dog can run and the length of a dog's fur, these have no association. So we would write no association for this one. They do not affect each other. Okay? And the reason why you can kind of think through this is my always example. My friend has a Sheltie, very fast dog. Okay? It has long hair, super long hair. I have a Corgi, short, stout, short hair, but my Corgi can run pretty quick. I keep it running, okay? My Corgi is pretty fast. They move, but they slow down a little quicker, but it's still fast, okay? It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter how long the hair is, okay? They can still be fast. They can have long hair, and they can be really slow. It doesn't matter. So we would say no association there. They don't affect each other. Let's look at one more here. The amount of sunlight a plant gets and how tall a plant is. Same kind of question. Is there an association between these? And if so, how would you describe it? Well, this one, yes, there is an association. Okay. And the way I would describe this is, as amount of sunlight increases, so as amount of sunlight, can't write fast enough here, increases, the height will also increase. Okay. So generally, the more sunlight, the more sunlight a plant gets, the height will also grow. It'll also get taller. Now, obviously, there's other factors that vary into that, but that will be true. Okay, the less sunlight, it's going to stay more stout, and everything. It's going to stay more short, and everything like that. So yes, that one does have an association. That one does affect the other. Okay, so with associations, we have to look at a few more things here. There's a few things that you got to take into consideration. So if an association occurs, not only can we explain it just like we did, but we can think of 4 different things. There's 4 things you have to include. Okay, and the 4 things you have to include are, number 1, you have to include direction. So that's what we're going to look at first. Okay, so direction can be described as positive, negative, and no association, as they're listed here. Okay, positive, negative, and no association. So obviously, if it's a positive association, as you can see in the example below, from left to right, as x increases, our y value is also going to increase. So you can think of our example as one of the first ones. As the height increases, as shoe size increases, the height also increases. That's a positive association. Okay, that's a positive association. A negative association would be like the, see which one did we just look at? I got to reference it again. Would be like, long sleeves and temperature. Okay, as the temperature increases, the amount of long sleeves, percent of long sleeves decreases. Okay, so that is an example of a negative association. And in a graph would look something like this. It would be decreasing. Okay, so we would say negative in that case. Now, if there's no association, like the length of dog's fur and speed, our graph would look something like this third one on the far right. And so in that case, we still would say no association. So the first thing we always describe it with is direction. Okay, so direction. Now, the second thing we're gonna describe it with is the form. Okay, so form gets into the idea of. Sorry, I'm blanking. Form gets into the idea of linear, nonlinear, and clusters. So linear obviously means it's going to look somewhat like a line, as you can see in the example on the left on your screen. Nonlinear is going to look like a curve. Okay, so we're going to have that curve idea. It'll be some kind of curve, maybe quadratic, exponential, or that kind of thing. And the third one is clusters, and we don't see clusters very much, but it means where there's groups of them kind of scattered throughout, maybe connected a little bit. But as you can see in this third example, they're kind of clustered together there and there, not much outside of that. Okay. So so we have direction, we have form. The third one that we need is strength. Okay, and what strength means is you can kind of think of it as how close how close the points are grouped together. And some people we will get to line of best fit, but how close the points are to the line of best fit. But I like to think of how close they are to each other. So you can see here on this far left one, we have far left is strong. They're very close to forming a line, and they align exactly. That's what we consider a strong one. If it was exponential, it'd be very close to forming an exponential look. A moderate one would be ones that it looks like it's a line, but they're spread out more. Okay, they don't form something really close to a line. They're spread out data points that if we could compress them all, they would form a line, but they're spread out a little more away from each other. So that would be called moderate. And the last one would be weak, and that's where they're very far away, but they still have a positive or negative look or something like that, but they're very spread out. They're not close. They're not close at all, really. And these will be pretty obvious. We're not going to make these too difficult on trying to figure out these. Okay? So now we have direction, we have form, we have strength, and the last one is outlier. And an outlier means it's a point that does not seem to fit the pattern at all. So it's something obscure. Okay, it's an anomaly, something like that. It's unusual. It's an unusual occurrence. And you can see in this example, this one's a nonlinear one. This one's moderate. I would consider this moderate here, but it has this one point way out there. That doesn't affect our strength. Okay, it's just an anomaly, an unusual occurrence. That's what we consider an outlier. So we would just label that as an outlier. Might just call the numbers or label the number of ones that we have. So the four things you're going to have to help describe an association after your explanation that we were practicing earlier is direction, form, strength, and number of outliers. So let's look at some examples here. So my first example here, I've got the height of a plant and the amount of fertilizer used. Okay, so remember the four things, I'll write them up here are, we've got form, we got form, we got direction. Sorry, I got these flipped. We have direction, we have form, we have strength, and we have outlier. Okay, so let's go through these one at a time here. First, what do you think the direction would be? Well, our direction for this one, it looks like it's getting taller. As the amount of fertilizer increases on the x-axis, our height of the plant is also increasing. So this direction here is going to be positive. Okay, so we're going to have a positive direction. What do you think the form is going to be? Okay, if you were to try and draw a line through this, if I were to try and draw a straight line, now that wasn't very good. Okay, this one looks pretty linear. If it's going to be non-linear, it's going to be very obvious. Okay, but this one, our form is pretty close to linear, so I'm going to go with linear here. It's going to be closer to linear than anything else. Now our strength. What do you think the strength would be? Well, this one, These points, if I were to try and draw a line through here, okay, they're all pretty close to that line. I would consider this one strong. Okay, this one I would consider strong here. Okay, and any outliers? Do you think there are any outliers? Okay, in this one, there are no outliers. So we can just say none in that case. There are none. Okay, they're all pretty close to each other. There's nothing that's obscure for this one at all. All right, so let's do another one here. I've got playing video games. We got a time spent playing video games on our x-axis, time studying on our y-axis. I want you to answer the same question here. So one at a time. What is the direction? Okay, the direction. Hopefully for this one you said negative. Okay, this one we are going negative. It is it's going down from left to right. As time spent playing video games increases, the amount of time studying decreases. So that means it's negative. What about the form? This form is linear. Okay, it's got that linear kind of pattern. Now I know they're kind of spread out, but that's okay. This still got that linear pattern, so we're going to say linear for the form. What about our strength? Well, this strength here, I would consider moderate. Okay, I would consider this one moderate. They're pretty close to each other. They're not really scattered. If they were scattered, they take up a good chunk of the graph right there. Okay, so that one, our strength would be moderate. And the last one, our outlier. What do you think that one is? Is there anything? Okay, this one, hopefully you said one. There is one. Okay, it's this point up here. This one would be our outlier. It's that anomaly. It's away from everything else. Okay, so that's what we would consider an outlier there. All right, let's do one more here. Okay, this one we got temperature and sales. So I want you to do the same thing. I want you to describe the association between these with direction, form, strength, and any outliers. All right, so this one, our direction. Well, this one, our direction is kind of tough, but with this one, we can't really say I should say this one's probably decreasing. I mean, I shouldn't have probably put this one here. This one, our direction, it increases and then it's increasing and then decreasing as our temperature gets bigger. So it switches halfway through. So our direction can be positive, but then it switches to a negative. So for nonlinear, it can be a little tougher, especially if it has this parabola look. So this one, I'm not going to really give us a direction on this for this one. Our form, though, our form is going to be nonlinear. Okay, that's our form, nonlinear. Our strength here, I think this one's probably moderate. If you said strong, I could kind of see an argument for that. I think moderate. There's a little variance here, but I think you see either or on this one. But moderate is what I would say. And any outliers? Well, outliers, there are none. Okay, no outliers. All right, if you have any questions, please let us know, as we'll be working on this for another day.